WTF, we're doing a podcast. I'm Nikki.
And I'm Michelle. This is 50. Welcome to What the 50. Join us on our continued journey to simplify our lives.
We will seek the answers from the experts and offer tips, tools, and techniques to live your life with confidence and joy. Are we ready?
Let's go.
Hey, Mish.
Hi, Nikki.
How are you today?
I am good, and welcome back to our listeners or viewers. Another episode in What the 50.
And I guess it's all about parenting this season, it seems like.
It is, and it's really based on what we're going through.
The transition,
Yeah,
right?
the transition.
And I think that both of our older sons, at least, have made kind of a transition into their adult life.
Yes, as scary as that sounds.
So I guess what we wanted to talk about today was about when you raise children and it's maybe not as you expected or envisioned in your life.
What we envision for them.
For them.
Correct. As mothers, we all, I think, from they're in our tummies, we start to think, how do I want my child to be, and what do I want my child to do and say? And we have this whole image in our minds because we think we have all this control. But do we really? Because at the end of the day, they will make their own choices. And that's what we really want them to do, to make their own choices. But I think for me, it happened with me, with my parents. And so I decided I didn't want that with my children. My parents thought I should do law. So I went to work at a law firm. And I decided absolutely not. And I heard it all my life. You're going to be a great lawyer. You're going to be a great lawyer. You're going to be good at law, blah, blah, blah. But that wasn't me at all.
Well,
and I'm sure I did that with my kids too.
Right.
To some degree, yes.
So the same thing happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Nikki, you love to chat. They used to call me Mota Masi.
Mm-hmm.
So, you'll be a great lawyer. Right. So again, if you listen to our first episode, I talked about labeling. So I had it in my head, labeling a lawyer.
Right.
So I did say, yeah, I'm going to be a lawyer. I went to one law class at school. I'm like, no flipping way am I doing this. Reading all this and having to remember it just wasn't.
And that
for
was
me.
my experience at the law firm too. I'm like, absolutely not. Just the smell of the books, I just couldn't manage it. I knew right away. I had a great time for the summer. I totally enjoyed it, and I made friends that are still my friends today, 40 odd years later. But no, law was just not for me.
Well, my roommate, I did recommend that she become a lawyer, and she is a lawyer now. Does that count?
That counts. Mm-hmm.
So as you know, I think that when the kids start going off to college and university, that's when you really realize you lose control. Mm-hmm. Because you can't control where they're going to get in. You can't control who they're going to be friends with. Mm-hmm. And you've kind of lost control of them in a certain way. Obviously, if you pay for their school or whatever, you have some control as such. But you really have to give it up then.
And the big thing is, we have to recognize that they're going to make their own choices. And that's so very scary, because the choices that they make are not necessarily what we think they should have made, or choices that we would have made. But we just have to trust the process, though.
Yes.
As hard as it is, we just have to trust the process. And I think once we lay the foundation, and they're going to, some of the decisions are not going to be what we like, but we have to trust that they're going to be okay.
Yes, for sure.
And we have to love them through it also.
And support their decision.
Because
I think as parents, I was speaking to Vanny, and she says, parents just want their kids to be happy. Mm-hmm. And I said, that's true. I don't think it's that parents just want them to be happy. I think we just don't want them to be upset. I don't know if there's a difference. Mm-hmm. But I'm not so concerned with my children being happy all the time.
Which is not possible.
Right. I just want them to be, calm and
I just want them to make the right choices. But I think, too, what we have to learn to do is to adjust that blueprint that we have. So life is never it's constantly changing.
Right.
Life is literally constantly changing. There are lots of outside factors that can influence what's
Right.
going on. And nowadays, things happen so very quickly.
Right.
And they have to make a lot of decisions on their own. And we just have to trust that they'll make the right ones. And certainly what works for them. And we have to accept
What
that
works
works
for
for
them
them.
and what works for their personality.
Correct.
So
Correct.
for me, like, as you know, Max, I was like always in my head, Max was going to go to medical school. He was going to go, I had it all planned out, Mish.
Mm-hmm,
He
mm-hmm.
was going to go to university for 4 years and he would come back to Jamaica, go to medical school, and, do that trajectory. Trevor even talked, yes, he'd make a great orthopedic surgeon. Uncle Philip said, no, no, he's a good personality for an anesthetist, so we had it all planned out for him. And Max is like, no. So as you know,
Yay,
Max,
Max.
but listen, Max went to engineering. And I thought to myself, I don't think Max is really an engineer, but,
Mm-hmm.
let's go. So he went to engineer, picked the furthest school that he could possibly go to in Vancouver, which is over 5,000 kilometers away, might I add,
Mm-hmm.
at the University of British Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
He graduated, he's going to engineering, and halfway through engineering, he's like, I don't really love engineering.
Mm-hmm.
So his father and I said, okay, but just finish it. No matter what, just finish it. So Max finished engineering, and as you know,
Mm-hmm.
now Max is doing nothing to do with engineering.
But he still has that in his back pocket. He
Right,
can fall
he
back on
does.
it, and I think no knowledge is lost there.
Right.
We had a similar experience, and I made some wrong decisions, which I have to. Maybe looking back, it may not have been a wrong decision, but it felt like a wrong decision. JP got into several universities in Canada. And when we visited the campuses, and I thought Western was just the best one, it was enclosed campus. He's leaving home for the first time. Going to go. This is perfect.
And we went to Western. Trevor and I went to Western, so of course,
Yeah,
it's a
it's
great school.
perfect. It's perfect. Ryerson, we brought it down to two, Western versus Ryerson. Like Ryerson is in the middle of the city. You walk out of a class, you're literally in the city.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, 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 we're not going to do this one because he has to be in an enclosed campus. And when I look back, no, I think you'd have done better at Ryerson.
Yeah.
And
But
for Western, where it was just dark all the time and snowing all the time and cold. And he said, I can't manage this.
But guess what? Ryerson, it would have been dark all the time too.
Would have been wherever, right?
Wherever in Ontario.
But we had to recalibrate quickly because he said to us, I'm coming home.
Mm-hmm.
So we said to him, fine, you're going to come home, but give us a plan. What
Right.
are you going to do? And he gave us that plan, and that was the start of Studio 8. So I think as parents sometimes, well, let me back up a little bit. Chris was very disappointed initially because he wanted his son to be in finance. Yeah, we all have these
different orthopedic medicine.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so he was a bit disappointed that not in JP, but disappointed with the decision.
Right.
But eventually, we both had to accept that this is, and JP has always had a camera in his hand, right? So going into film seemed really natural after a while, but we just never thought of it as a profession.
Because it's not a tradition. Exactly.
It's not. We never thought of it as a profession at all. How are you going to eat? But he came home, he did his thing, and then he said, okay, I'm going off to film school. And he did that, and now he's a filmmaker. So
and a successful filmmaker.
He's getting there. But thanks, Auntie Nikki. But I think it's so difficult because we already have this plan for them. This is what they're going to do. And can I just add right here, my mom had that planned for me to the law. And I'm sure she was disappointed that I didn't do law. I have no regrets.
Right.
No way. And then she wanted me to take over the pharmacy. To do that, I'd have to be a pharmacist. I said, no way. I think I was rebellious. But, I think as parents, we have all of these plans and we just have to adjust as we go along because what we plan for them is not necessarily what they want to do.
And sometimes we project
sometimes, a lot of times.
We project what we want,
a lot of times, yeah. So, Nikki, we know that as we have been talking about with our children and mothers in general, no matter what we have said, we have done, we have preached, at the end of the day, when our children become adults, they make their own decisions. And it may not necessarily be, and we're not just talking about profession now, maybe their religion, maybe where they choose to live, maybe who they choose to be with. Um, it may not necessarily be in line with what we want for them, but how do we navigate that?
I don't think that we are not quite there yet, with such different beliefs or different things. But I'm looking at my friends with older children, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking to them to see how they're modeled. One instance that I can say is that we have some good friends whose son actually converted to Islam,
Mm-hmm.
to marry his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And all through it, they didn't bat an eye. They just went through the motions, and willingly, not just going through the motions. And they accepted their daughter-in-law. They accepted the fact that their son was converting. My friend did say, feels a little weird, but this is what he wants, and we love him, so we're going to support him. And to me, as like, they did it, so if that ever comes up with me, I will just follow along and do the
You know
same
what to do.
thing. Right.
But I think you said something really important, though. You said they said that he's their son,
Right.
and they're going to love him through it. And that can be a little bit difficult sometimes because yes, we love our children, but we still have in the back of our heads, I want them to do it this way. So we really have to accept that that's just not going to happen all the time.
And I think sometimes too is that when it comes to different political beliefs or different religious beliefs or even sexuality,
Mm-hmm.
we have to consider, because they are a different sexuality or they're a different religion, is it affecting me or affecting what other people think about me?
Mm-hmm. I think the first thing that comes to mind is how will people think of me?
Exactly.
Yeah, because we're very sensitive in that area, but we have to get over ourselves because we literally do not have control,
Right.
and we literally have to find a way to love them through it.
And family first, right?
Yeah, of course, no matter what. And I've told my boys, no matter what, I can't change the fact that you're my sons. I never will, and I don't want to. I have to love them with whatever choices they make in life. I just pray they make the right choice, what I think would be the right choices. But we just have to love them through it.
Well, Kalen, he is a strong debater.
Mm-hmm.
He is very forceful, as you know, in his opinions.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I've ever told you this story before, but he's like, from long ago, he's like, capitalism, colonialism, capitalism is the downfall of this and that. I'm going, whoa, whoa, Kalen. Let's not go. There are some benefits of capitalism, and
Sure.
let's discuss this. So we discuss it and we talk about different aspects and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But to tell you the truth, Trevor and I just looked at each other the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And with everything that's going on in the world today, we're saying, God damn it, Caitlin's right.
Look at that no, right?
Right?
Look at that no, because he was seeing it a whole different way.
Right. And this is just something that I grew up in a world where, you worked hard, you did this, you built this, you built that, and you got
It's a
this.
different time now.
Right?
It's a totally
But
different
I think
time.
it's just I think what Kaylin was seeing was the way that capitalism just went all without any regard for the whole society.
It is what it is, and that's where we are now.
And that's where we are now. Because he would always say, I want to be rich, but I don't want to be so rich. And I'm like, Kaylin, come on. What do you mean that?
And I think a lot of children his age, a lot of adults, his age will probably have that kind of view because they really do see the world differently from we do.
Right.
Yeah. So, Nikki, one of the things that I've recognized is the differences between our generation and our children. So, when we were growing up, we were told by our parents pretty much how to feel, what to say, what to do, and we went along with it. I'm sure most of us never really liked that. We wanted to express ourselves, but that was not really encouraged. But we encouraged our children to express themselves. How do you feel? Kaylon is saying, this is how I feel about capitalism. We probably would not have had that conversation earlier, right? When we were Kaylon's age. So they're very vocal, and we have encouraged them to be very vocal.
Well, Michelle, I want to say here is that um, I don't think I encourage Kalen to be as vocal as he could have been,
Mm-hmm.
because being vocal in our school system is not what you're to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
I know that Kalen got into issues with teachers
Mm-hmm.
because he's such a vocal person, and he can be intimidating when he's talking to you because he knows a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember specifically saying to him, Kalen, do you have to be always arguing? Just kind of like go under the radar.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to argue, because Max was not going to argue with you. He might believe that
Mm-hmm.
you were wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but he was just going to say, okay, and
Mm-hmm.
not argue with you.
Mm-hmm.
Kalen, he's going to argue till you
And
get
that's
it.
a good thing. And that's a
However,
good thing.
so then I had to say to myself, why am I telling this child
Yes.
to calm
Yeah, to
and
dumb it
change his
down.
personality?
Yes, no.
Right?
But in that moment,
In that moment. And
yes.
I did change. I said, you know what, Kaylin, you just go for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to change, and we talked with him a lot, his father and I, and say, okay, if a teacher or something authority, because
Mm-hmm.
he also had an issue with nuns during confirmation, if somebody authority is saying something that you don't agree with or you don't believe to be correct, you have to discuss it in them in such a way
Mm-hmm.
that you give them an out.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, you are younger,
Mm-hmm.
and so they are going to automatically think that
Mm-hmm.
they're going to want to have that power over
Mm-hmm.
you, right? So we had to help him be able to channel his enthusiasm and vigor in such a way that he just didn't put people on a defensive.
So in other words, he had to be more conversational rather than
Right.
combative.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. And
to learn to be assertive versus
yeah.
aggressive.
Right. And that's a life lesson right there, right? Because
Right.
doing that here in Jamaica within his environment is one thing, but when you meet other persons from other environments, other cultures, it can become quite difficult.
Right.
And I think that's a good thing that you were able to change how you and encourage him, how you saw what he was doing, and to encourage him, because that's a huge skill that a lot of persons do not possess. And the fact that Kalen can express himself and he wants to express himself is critical. It's
Right.
good. It's a good skill to have.
And I see him now, like even when in a discussion with me, he will come back and say, "Sorry, mom, I came off a little bit harsh there. Let me come and let's discuss again." So it has been nice to see that growth in him, and I know that came from growth in us too.
Yes, absolutely.
As parents.
Yes. And I was going to say that too. That the good thing is at this stage we're able to speak to them and speak with them at a particular level where they can see the errors they have made and feel free to express it to us, and we can also see the errors we have made and express it to them, and they will point it out to us,
right?
And we can accept it and adjust where necessary. Because I get that all the time. The boys will call me out all the time.
Yes. And the thing is too is that not necessarily my parents, because my parents were not particularly this way. But I know for Trevor's family, his upbringing is it's my way, that I know right, and you do it this way. And he would always say to me that my brother and we reacted differently. So my father, like for instance, they would say, go and you must wear a hat now and go outside, it's cold. And Trevor says, my brother would constantly argue. And Trevor said, I would just take the hat, walk outside, and then take the hat off. But that's the old style of parenting, and that's a very superficial example.
Mm-hmm.
But we are learning so much from these kids,
Mm-hmm.
and we are so open to them, as I know you are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they teach us so much.
Oh, absolutely. And we receive it um, with a lot of love. And a lot of times I have to sit back and say, my gosh, I didn't have to do it that way. I'm glad that JP or Zach pointed it out. Mom, just chill.
And they do it to both. They do it to Chris too, I'm
They
sure.
do. They
Yes.
do. They
And
do.
they do it to both of us. They will say, Dad, Mom.
Yeah, we get it. We get it.
Yes.
And sometimes, and a lot of times, I have to sit back and say, you were right. I really didn't have to do it like that,
Right.
And there are times when Zach will, or both of them, Zach or JP will, I'm getting all anxious. And they'll just come and they'll put their hand on my shoulder.
It's so true.
They'll rub my neck. And I have
so true.
no choice but just to literally calm down in that moment. I get a big sloppy kiss on the cheek, and I have no choice but to either laugh, calm down. It just changes everything
Right.
immediately. But we talk about, I just mentioned getting anxious, and I get anxious sometimes about things. And
Don't we all?
and yet that generation is labeled the anxious generation.
Right.
But did we bring that out in them too?
I'm sure we did.
Yeah, did we bring them out? And I don't think we expressed being anxious.
No.
We just dealt with whatever came our
Right.
way. But for them, we encourage them to have these conversations, and they're readily telling us, we're anxious. We need
Right.
help.
Yes. So
for
we talk
sure.
about
Yeah.
the kids and about how they're trying to, I almost say, like, they almost kind of want to rein us in a little,
Mm-hmm.
because our generation, the Karen generation
Mm-hmm.
that they talk about. But I don't know about you, Michelle, but I kind of also want them to be a little bit assertive
Mm-hmm.
when they want things to happen. I don't know if they just haven't evolved into that,
Mm-hmm.
but the kids now seem to be less confrontational.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think you need to be confrontational, because I've learned how to not to be confrontational. It's a line that I always use now, that I see my husband also doing. So, like, when a situation is not going, with somebody, like in a restaurant or a travel agent, they're going, okay, this is not the solution that we want. Why don't you take 5 minutes and think about it? I'll take 5 minutes and think about it, and let's come together and come up with a solution. But
Mm-hmm.
trust me, that works a lot, because
You
it
get
gives you guys
calm.
kind of a time to, time out
And to reassess.
and to come. And it's like,
Right.
you're not saying you're wrong, I'm right. You're kind of like, let's think about this and go forward.
Right. So I remember many years ago, 2012 to be exact, we were in London,
Mm-hmm.
and JP went at the time. He always has a camera, and he had bought a little bit of equipment from the store. They gave him the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't work. I said, but JP, you can't take it back. You already opened it. He says, Mom, he gave me the wrong thing. I'm going to take it back. I said, but you opened it. And sure enough, we went back to the store, and it was exchanged, although the package had been opened. And that really taught me that sometimes and I say no very frequently, it's one of two things. It's either yes or no.
And that's so true.
And his approach was very calm. It wasn't a case of, how could you give me the wrong thing?
Mm-hmm.
He was pretty calm about it. The guy was apologetic, and it was a quick transaction. And I've never forgotten that, because I would have said, oh no, I can't go back. I've already opened it, and he said, no, we're going to try. So there are lessons that we learn from our children. And although we are imparting a lot to them, they a lot of times can give us another perspective.
Of course. And let's not dim our light too much.
Right.
We can also give them a different perspective.
Oh, absolutely.
Of
Yeah,
course.
of course. Of course. And for that, we're grateful, because I think as we get older and we recognize, and again, coming from how we were brought up, it was the adult was right all the time. I think we have evolved to say we can learn from our children just as much as they're learning from us. And we keep the communication open. And sometimes there's a little resistance from them or from us, but communicating and understanding that it's okay.
Right.
So,
I know, and then they communicate in such different ways
oh
too,
goodness,
right?
yes.
Because I'll give you a story. Is that we were on a family trip, and my brother, one of my older brothers, was starting to get a little bit, let's say, miserable. And I said, you know what? Everyone's tired right now. We'll talk about this tomorrow. And he started to go off, my brother. And Max actually said to him, and I was like so shocked because I would have never said this to him because he's my older brother, and he said, Uncle, I don't think you need to speak to my mother like that.
Wow.
I think, she's just saying that you're tired and that we can discuss this tomorrow. But that tone of voice and that discussion is uncalled for. I was like, what?
But guess what?
Mhm.
That's the same lesson that you taught him before with how to handle certain situations.
Right.
So he did the very same thing.
But in a family, or
yes,
I got all
yes,
flustered and
yes.
whatever, and so
Yeah, but he got it. Yeah, and I'm sure it worked, right?
it did. He kind of like diffused the situation, but my sisters and I are like,
I'm sure you're sweating at that point.
But I was really proud of him.
Oh,
though,
absolutely,
for like
absolutely,
standing
yeah,
up like
yeah,
that. So.
absolutely. So, Nikki, as we're having our conversations about our two sons, we do know that they're mothers who really struggle. It's not easy. Motherhood is not easy, but they're mothers who really have major challenges.
And there's like, yes, for
Major
sure.
challenges. And for example, I have a friend, her son, her adult son, and that makes a lot of difference in terms of his treatment and so on. Her adult son has mental issues, and
Wow.
it has really taken a toll. Fortunately, she has a partner. It's not his child, but she has a partner who has really, really been supportive. And I often wonder how she would have managed if she did not have that support. And we know about the village and the importance of the village, but we often remind her the importance of taking care of herself in the process, because if she doesn't, she can't take care of him.
For sure.
But the challenges are real.
I think one of the big things when you have challenges like this is to be real and truthful in the situation.
That's hard though.
It's hard.
Yeah.
But you cannot, I don't believe you should, and every situation is different.
For sure.
Right? But you can't enable the situation if it's a bad situation.
We shouldn't.
Right? As much as you can. And to not enable the situation, you need to find your village, find your people where you can lean on and say, hey, and maybe that's what her partner is doing for her.
Right.
Hey, how am I approaching this from my mom blinders on, or is this how I should be dealing with it? Because we sometimes get so lost in poor child, this, and
that's one thing, but we also get lost in how would others view me.
Exactly.
Right? And so we keep those blinders on as a way to protect ourselves, but we're just making the matter even worse and perpetuating the situation.
Because we're not doing the perfection.
Correct. We get paralyzed in this whole pursuit for perfection, and we really just have to understand and recognize that they need help, we need help, and help is there. We call on the village, we call on whether it's a partner or extended village, but we need to find that strength to do it, because I can't imagine.
Right, and it's really calling on the support and finding your people in that moment.
Of course,
we had a past guest whose child is transgender.
Yes,
right.
Actually, and she was very supportive of her child.
Right, but she had to literally be coached on it, have therapy, find her people to move through that. And she talks that she went through a grief because she had to grieve the loss of one child, the loss of her daughter,
right,
and to accept her son. So it's like, but it's reinforcing the strength in yourself through
Absolutely.
other people and being real about it.
And I was going to say that the good thing with her, she was not in denial.
Right.
I'm sure she had a lot of questions, and I'm sure she struggled tremendously. In fact, she told us she did, but she was not in denial. This is where her daughter, he's transitioning to her son, and she just had to accept it.
Yes.
And find the ways to cope.
I think that if she knew that if she wanted to have a relationship with her son,
that's what she had to do.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a struggle, but
motherhood is beautiful, and we wouldn't do it any other way, and we're grateful. And we never ever sit here thinking all mothers have it the way that we do. I mean, we have been blessed, and it's a blessing to be a mother in the first place. But we have been blessed with sons that have really made it very rewarding for us.
Right.
And we have had our own challenges. We've leaned on each other. We've literally questioned ourselves a lot of times, but we just keep it moving.
Right. And it's not to say our heart doesn't break little bit here and a little bit there.
Oh, yes.
But it's always countered with a little bit of joy, or, or what kind of a hug or a thank you, mommy, or.
Absolutely. It changes everything, for sure.
So this has been, I think, a season of just talking about parenting and in our own transitions, because sometimes we struggle a lot, with trying to figure out what we're doing, if we did, how to navigate this new relationship that we're having with adult children, and what to do when their house is very quiet.
But I remember years ago, just to reflect a little bit, my very, very close friend, Heather Dawn, had said to me, it's so different parenting adult children. And I think Zach was probably 4 at the time, and I thought, how difficult could it be? But now, HD, I understand what you're talking about, and we're both at that stage. And I'm really grateful for the village that we have, friends that have children that are now adults and what they did. And we take lessons from them, because at no point do we think we know it all. What works for me may not work for you, but we still bounce things off each other. And I think that's a really, really good way to end our season, to find your people, find who you can be vulnerable with, do your research, ask questions, and understand that we're really just trying to do our best.
Right. And if you need some help, find help. Find your village,
But we want to hear from you, though.
Yes, for sure.
How has it been for you? How has it been for you parenting adult children, girls versus boys? How is it? Just, reach out to us, let us know what you do, what you'd like to know. Maybe we can help a little bit more. But we want to hear from you.
Yep, for sure.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of What the 50. Please show your love and encouragement by sharing, subscribing, and leaving a review wherever you're listening. And don't forget to like and follow us on Instagram, and please join our active Facebook group at What.the50.